DevelopSec, developing security awareness with James Jardine, brought to you by Jardine Software. Hi, and welcome to episode 11 of the DevelopSec podcast. I'm James Jardine, and I apologize a little bit for my voice. Something with the weather has just been kind of messing with my throat a little bit, so maybe I actually sound a little bit more deeper as I do this podcast. And today, I want to talk about phishing, and I'm not talking about putting on my hip waders and going out into the river with a whole bunch of different flies and tossing them back and forth and waiting for some sort of bass or trout or some random pumpkin seed fish to go ahead and hook on so I can capture it and then decide whether I want to release it or keep it, take it home, skin it, cook it, whatever you do to it. I'm not a fish person myself, but I'm sure you do something with it. I'm talking about phishing in regards to email attacks. The idea that somebody is going to send an email out to a list of targets, and that email is going to contain something that is malicious, but may not be malicious just by viewing it. It may be by viewing it. That would be taking advantage of a bug in whatever mail client that you're using. But lately I've seen a lot of emails coming across to me that, have .zip file attachments, or they're starting to get a little bit more targeted, and this really affects everybody. This isn't a business issue. It's not a developer issue. It's not just a home user issue. It's an everybody that's got an email address issue, because let's face it, the attackers out there in most cases are just grabbing just emails that they can scrape from anywhere, and they just throw these phishing campaigns together. And we call it a campaign because we take a list of email addresses, we create some template, and we send that out. Now, when we talk about phishing, and of course this is phishing with a PH, right? This isn't the normal F phishing. Phishing starts off with getting a list of email addresses. Now, there's two types of phishing that we want to talk about. There's I'm just going to mass send a template. And I see these every day. I probably get 10 to 15 emails every day at my work email address that are purely just this mass phishing campaign. I don't know who I'm throwing it out to. All I'm saying is, I'm going to grab email addresses. I've created some really poor template, and I've attached a crappy file that, if somebody clicks on it, may cause me some harm. But I'm still passing .zip files, and my emails aren't really that good. Think about Nigerian lottery schemes. Think about these new ones now that are saying they're from payroll, or they're from a bank, but they're really not put together very well. These are those mass phishing campaign types. They're not targeted towards any one specific person. They take the idea of here's a general idea that may get a bunch of people. Just like when we talk about regular fishing, right? Certain types of bait will catch certain types of fish, but there are probably some types of bait that have the ability to catch multiple types of fish, but it's not as good or as accurate. So, but your chances are still better, because now instead of targeting one fish, you're targeting, 15 different species of fish. I remember growing up, we used to have that problem where we'd throw a worm in the water, and, dang it, if the only thing we'd ever caught was these stupid little throwback pumpkin seed fish. I don't even know if they're really called pumpkin seeds, but that's what my dad called them, was, oh, that's a little pumpkin seed, throw it back. And, we got to the point where we were so bored fishing that we'd just sit there and drop the line close and just try to catch those fish and care about any other fish. Because I just wanted to catch something. Well, in this mass fishing campaign, right, it's not specific. They're not really trying that hard to trick you, but you should feel somewhat taken back if you actually get tricked by it. It amazes me the number of people that fall for you've just won the Nigerian lottery when you didn't even play the Nigerian lottery. You've never been to Nigeria. yet somehow a country that is fairly third world, I'm guessing. I've never been there myself, but when I think of Africa, I think a lot of third worldy, not really high class, having lots of stuff or having lots of money, lots of poverty, that type of thing. And maybe it's not like that, but that's my stereotype, I guess, of what that area is like. Why would they be giving money to people outside of the country? That doesn't make any sense at all. Yet people fall for these scams over and over and over again. But these mass phishing scams, they're pretty poor. And there's a bunch of things we can look for that can help us identify that these aren't really valid emails. Again, if it's something that you've never applied to, then chances are you didn't win it. So don't try to do, if it says something like that, don't fall for that type of stuff. Look at the from address. It's pretty easy to spoof a from address. So for the average user, I can see falling for that. It looked like it came from my company, contact book. So one of the things that I found, it was interesting when we were doing one of these campaigns against a customer, was he asked his users, well, did you check the email address against the contact book, right? Our internal address book. Did that email that you came from validate against our address book? And the answer actually was no, it didn't. Well, then why'd you click on anything, right? It said it was from James at xyzcompany.com, but when you went and looked at it, hey, wait a minute, James at xyzcompany.com doesn't exist in our xyz.company.com address book. This must be fake, right? So although it may take a moment, right, anything that appears fishy, you want to do these multiple checks. Look for the bad grammar, look for things that are out of the ordinary, like a payroll zip file coming to you. Why would payroll, hey, click sending you anything, right? Unless you're expecting something from your payroll company or your payroll department, it's probably not legit. Same thing with stuff from credit card companies. Credit card companies very often do not send you stuff to say, hey, click here and log in, because they know that's a common phishing scheme, right? I know when I get something from a credit card company or some other company and it says, hey, call this number, I'm even skeptical about calling a number where I'll even go pull up my web browser, I'll surf to their site, and I'll see if I can find that number on their site. And if that number is on their site, okay, well, it seems like it's pretty legit. I've actually had a number come through that wasn't listed on the credit card company's site. I called the credit card company's number on their site and said, hey, I got this email. It said, call this number, but I can't number on your site. And they did validate that it actually was a number for them. So, it wasn't a malicious email, but I felt better taking that step of, hey, it takes 2 extra minutes to do the extra due diligence to ensure that I'm not just calling out to some random site. Links in the emails we can fake, right? We can make it look like google.com, but really that link is going to some malicious site. So one of the things we've a long time said was, you can like hover over those links and see where they direct to. And if the direction doesn't match what the text is, then, it's a bad link. But while I was at an InfoSec conference down in Orlando, I watched Dave Kennedy from TrustedSec talk about they've actually come up with a way now to be able to make the link look like it's going to the place that it says it's going, but then they use frames and they're able to actually make it go someplace else. So still be cautious there. Again, the first thing we want to think of is, should I even be getting, why am I getting this email, right? Is it relative to what I'm doing? Is it something that I was expecting? How did this get to me? The other type of phishing campaign that we see is what we call spear phishing. Spear phishing is where I'm actually going to try to target a specific person or a specific group. So rather than just sending this thing out in mass and hoping a few people bite on it, I'm going to send it to a small targeted few, but I'm going to craft my email to be very specific to what would entice that group. So if I was targeting, let's just use it like a car dealership as an example, right? I would craft my email to be something related to the car industry that the people that I'm sending to would be more apt to actually click. Maybe it's a company, right? Some random business out there. If I'm targeting that company, maybe I'm going out, I'm finding some sort of email template that they've used previously. Maybe I know that they send out random security alerts or something like that, where I'll create a template that looks exactly like their template. And don't get me wrong, when we do the targeted spear phishing attacks, there's very little grammar mistakes. We don't have the spelling mistakes. The English is proper, or whichever language you're in, that language is proper. A good phishing attack is very difficult to identify that this isn't a valid email. So I know when most of the times when we do it, we don't do just general phishing. We do spear phishing, where I'm testing company XYZ. I'm going to find out about XYZ. I'm going to look at local news stations. I'm going to look at all this stuff and try to come up with something that, hey, what's a good ruse that I can send that might get people to click on this? And we come up with some pretty sketchy ones that they sound legit. I mean, you send it off to somebody and it looks good. This sounds fine. There doesn't seem anything malicious here. And even the site you go to may not be flagged as malicious. It's nothing for me to set up a new domain, put up a quick website, and make it look like anything I want it to look like. So if you can come up with something that's enticing, you can get the people to go out to some site. And before, back in the day, it really was big about people would send, EXEs, right? And then our email programs and Exchange. And we got really good at filtering out and saying, hey, look, you can't send executables anymore to people. So now we see zip files and other file attachments that are sending over that are these malicious types. If somebody's sending me an attachment, I know it's coming. Rarely, when I do phishing campaigns, do I have attachments. Most cases, I'm going to take advantage of the browser, which is the probably biggest entryway into a system. I'm going to take advantage of the browser, and I'm just going to get you to go to a link. And that's where it gets people's guard down is, oh, well, I'm just sending you out to a site. Oh, well, the site can't hurt me. But that's not true, right? I can send down malicious data from that site, take advantage of your browser, and then gain access to the system. So don't think that emails that don't have attachments are any more safe than emails that do from a phishing standpoint, because really they're not. But when we talk about targeted spear phishing, we are talking about putting together very sophisticated emails that are very relative to the people that we're sending them to, in the hopes that we're going to get them to click on this link and we can take advantage of that. There are services out there that allow you to sign up. Secure Ideas has a user awareness service that we offer that does this exact type of thing, where the company can sign up and, we'll do phishing campaigns and we'll analyze, how many people are clicking, how many people are opening attachments, how many people are ignoring this. And we take all these statistics and we use these values to really come back and let you know how your user awareness training is going from a security perspective. How are you doing from, hey, look, everybody in the company clicked this link. Or maybe the first email we sent, 90% clicked it, and now we're at the 10th email that we've sent out and only 25% have clicked it, right? We can show that growth, that people are starting to learn and identify what phishing emails look like, so we're making progress. But the whole goal around it is we want to ensure that people are starting to understand and get better at identifying what are these items. You can even stand your own phishing thing up. There's a tool called Phishing Frenzy, which you can just install, and it'll pretty much manage these phishing campaigns for you if you want to set something up internal and test out your employees internally. Remember, it's to raise awareness. It's not to point out people that are failing. It's not to make fun of people. The goal is to help increase our security posture. So that's my rant on phishing this morning. So I hope everybody has a great day, a great weekend. The weather's warming up, and we will have another episode for you coming up shortly. Thank you. You have been listening to the DevelopSec podcast with James Jardine. Follow us on Twitter at DevelopSec and visit our website at www.developsec.com for more episodes and information.